New at 10, a bar owner breaks the rules. A San Antonio businessman opened up his downtown spot over the weekend. He was later slapped with a ticket and had to shut down. Under the state's rules, bars are not allowed to be opened. The governor shut them down, saying they're part of the blame for the surge in coronavirus cases. Tonight, the owner is defending his bold move. To Eyewitness News reporter Henry Ramos.
For 8 hours on America's birthday, Greg Barano got away with breaking the law.
It was worth it to show that we should be open.
He owns Drink Texas on Navarro Street and 2 other bars. Despite Governor Greg Abbott shutting down bars for a second time 2 weeks ago, Barano served customers over the holiday weekend.
I did not do it for a financial gain.
He says it was his way of protesting.
We wanted to show that we disagree with the governor's order.
Barano says he isn't a bad bar owner. He followed all of the state safety guidelines put in place when the governor allowed bars to reopen after the first shutdown. Barano just wants it to be fair.
All restaurant bars are still open and able to do business, and actually are busier now because our bars are closed.
He says if bars and restaurants are open, what makes his standalone spot any different?
We'll be as safe as any restaurant or any restaurant bar.
But local and state leaders have blamed bars for the latest spike in coronavirus cases. They say data shows it is one of the leading contributors. Barano and other owners say, show me the proof.
I don't believe that they actually have the statistical data that says the cases are tied to the bars and caught in the bars.
I think the governor did it right because in bars, you're there just to drink and nothing else, and that's, going to get you in trouble.
Henry joins us live from the downtown bar. Henry, several bar owners are suing the state. Any update on that lawsuit?
Deborah, there is a federal and a state lawsuit filed by the Texas Bar and Nightclub Alliance. Barano is a board member for that group. He and other owners, they're seeking damages, and they're hoping that a judge will rule in their favor. He says that a federal judge should make a decision sometime this week that will hopefully allow them to reopen. Though, as you heard the governor, he said he believes that bars contributed to the recent surge in cases. We're live downtown tonight. Henry Ramos, KENS 5, Eyewitness News.
Henry, thank you.